Yo, what's going on, boys? How you guys doing today? Welcome back to the Steam 2 video. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a build for the Warlock. So this build is going to be all about weekend enemies with our power melees or with some finishers, and also getting every single buff under the sun. I'm not even kidding, with this build you can get Devour, Amplified, Radiant, Frost Armor, and you also Jolt as well. So we're going to have a bit of everything on this build, while at the same time putting a 30% weekend buff on enemies. Yes, it is going to be that good. Now, two things that you're going to need to make this build work are going to be the Felwinter's Helm and also the Monte Carlo. As long as you have this piece of armor and this weapon, you're going to be able to make this build work. So if that sounds like something that you want to try, let's stop wasting more time and let's get right into it. So first we got to get started with our main part of the build, which is going to be our exotic headpiece, the Felwinter's Helm. Now the Felwinter's Helm is essentially going to do like a weakening explosion around you whenever you finish something, or whenever you get a kill with a power melee. And this weakening explosion kind of varies depending on what you kill. If you kill like a yellow bar, the weakening explosion not only is it going to be bigger, but it's also going to last longer, up to like 20 seconds. But if you kill like a red bar, the explosion might be smaller and might only last like 10 seconds. So that's something that you may want to keep in mind when using the helmet, in case you have your choice of like finishing like a yellow bar or a red bar. Now something that's going to be the same whether you kill like a yellow bar or a red bar is the weakening effect, because it will always weaken by 30%, which is one of the biggest weakens in the game, especially considering how easily we can trigger it with this build. We're just constantly going to be weakening all these enemies around us, and a lot of enemies, when we weaken them, they don't really fight back, they just can't stand there, so it makes it easier to kill them. And some of the bigger enemies, when you weaken them, well, they're just going to be taking more damage. So overall, this is going to help you with everything, whether it's a big enemy or just big groups of smaller enemies. You're going to be able to deal with them very easily with the Felwinter's Helm. Now for our weapon, we decided to go with the Monte Carlo. This is like the perfect weapon for this type of build. We want to use our melee as quickly as possible, and that's pretty much what the Monte Carlo specifies in. And giving us back our melee by dealing damage or getting kills. And while we're getting kills, it also powers up the Monte Carlo, because with its exotic perk, Mark of Chain, whenever you get some kills with the weapon or with melees, it increases its damage. And as soon as we get a kill with our melee, it's going to fully stack it up, meaning that every shot is going to be doing 66% more damage. It is a huge damage buff that makes the weapon just feel a lot better. So we can constantly just kill things faster, since our Monte Carlo is doing more damage. And while we're doing that, we're charging up our melees, so we can go in and just start weakening some more enemies. Now for our subclass, we are going to be on the Prismatic Warlock, although I'm sure some of you guys could already tell. And I recommend that you guys run the Winter's Rat Super, and you're going to see why in a second. Now for our abilities, I recommend that you're in the Phoenix Dive. We're going to be moving quite a lot with this build, so being able to just jump up and heal very quickly is going to be really nice. For our melee, we're going to be on the Arcane Needle. This is just so we can get 3 melee charges. That is like literally the only reason. We're not really going to use it as an actual melee. And lastly, for our grenade, we are on the healing grenade, but most of the time we're not really going to use it because of our first aspect, which is Bleak Watcher. We're going to be able to turn our grenade into a stasis turret, and this is going to be great. It's going to slow targets, it's going to freeze them. It works really well with a lot of mods this season that are about freezing targets, and it's also going to give us some of that Darkness Transcendence energy, which is really good because Transcendence is essentially like a second super with this setup. Now our second aspect is going to be Lightning Surge, which is going to turn our melees into AoE jolting melees, and this is pretty much going to be like the main way that we're going to be getting those power melee kills. We go in with the Lightning Surge, kill a bunch of things, and if something survives, they're going to be weakened and you'll have an easier time killing them, or if they're low enough, you can go for a finisher and reapply the buff to any other enemies that are still around. Lightning Surge is going to be some crazy ad clear and a pretty easy way to apply the weaken buff. Now let's move on to the fragments. The very first one is going to be the Faceted Protection. This is going to give us damage resistance whenever we're surrounded, and when we're Transcendent, we get even more damage resistance. At base is 15, and whenever we're Transcendent is 25. After that, we're going to have the Faceted Dawn. Whenever we hit something with our power melee, we become Radiant. So we're going to have Radiant a lot of the time. We're just going to be spamming melees, so whenever we're not using our melees, we're going to have Radiant, so our weapons can do some more damage. Now next we're going to have the Facet of Sacrifice, where we have an Arc, Solar, or Void buff. Our ability Final Blows will give us bonus Darkness Transcendence energy. This is going to help us reach that Transcendence a little faster, since we're always going to be either Amplified or Radiant, so we're always going to be getting that extra energy. After that, we're going to have the Facet of Purpose. Whenever we pick up some Ores of Power, we're going to get some Frost Armor. Now, Frost Armor is going to give us a bit of extra damage resistance, as was work really well with some of the mods that we have on the artifact. After that, we're going to have the Facet of Defiance. This will make it so whenever we finish something, it's going to slow targets around us. So this just kind of adds a little bit more. Not only are the enemies going to be weakened once we do a finisher, but they're also going to be slowed. And the last fragment we're going to have on this build is going to be the Facet of Ruin. This for whenever we freeze enemies, they're going to have to increase damage and also increase the size of the explosion when they shatter. This essentially just adds a little bit more ad clear, and it's going to make our super and also our stasis turret just a little bit more effective. Not something that I typically don't talk about, but we do gotta talk about with this build is Transcendence and the role Transcendence plays into this build. So we're actually going to be getting Transcendence quite a lot with both of our aspects, the Lightning Surge and the Stasis Turret. And you kind of want to use your Transcendence second super. If you don't have any melee charges, you could activate it and immediately get 3. And then just start spamming. Lightning Surge as hard as you can. Because while you have that increased regen, it is ridiculous the amount of lightning surges you can get out there. It really does make it feel just like a second super. So keep that in mind. Don't hold on to your Transcendence. If you don't have any melee charges, you can just pop it and go in with that. Now let's take a look at the mods that we have on this build, and they're mostly focused on getting the abilities back as well as making orbs. So first here for the helmet, we have Kinetic Siphon, so we can make some orbs with our Monte Carlo. We have Hands-On, so we can get some more melee energy with all those melee kills we're going to be getting. And lastly, we have Special Ammo Scout. Now for our gauntlets, we're going to have 2 heavy-handed mods. Whenever we get some kills with our power melee, we're going to get some Orbs of Power. And by having 2 of them, it reduces the cooldown in between when you can proc heavy-handed. Now, for this final mod, I actually tried out a bunch of different ones. The last one I tried was Fun to Focus, and I actually kind of liked that. But I also tried out Meta Kickstart and Grenade Kickstart. I would say that Grenade Kickstart is the one that ended up working the best, so we can get a lot of turrets out there. I tried Melee Kickstart, but with the triple like charge melee, sometimes it glitches out and it just doesn't take your armor charge, even if you have some. So it was just better to use Grenade Kickstart and pretty much get to use my armor charge every single time. For our chest piece, we have the normal resistances and some charged up, so we can carry some more armor charge. For the boots, we're going to have Recuperation, Absolution, and then Enervation, so we can get back Grenade Energy, Energy for all of our abilities, and some healing whenever we pick up orbs. This can be very useful, even if we do have like other sources of healing. This can definitely help you when you're in a bad situation. And lastly, for the class item, we're going to have Reaper, Outreach, as well as Bomber. Now, Reaper is something that I really like, and the reason that I wanted to go with Phoenix Dive, since we can use our class ability a lot more often, and so we can really take advantage of Reaper and make even more orbs with our Monte Carlo. And we're also going to proc these whenever we use our class ability, so that also kind of works out. Now for our artifact here, we actually have a couple of mods that are going to help us. First, we want to put on the grenade launcher ones. Rapid Impact, Overload Breach Grenade Launcher, Concussive Reload. Concussive Reload specifically is going to be another way of weakening things. Killing Breeze is pretty good. You get that increased mobility after getting some weapon final blows. That's really nice. Total Carnage is another good one. Gives us damage assist after we finish a powerful combatant. And the MVP of the mods for sure has to be Power from Pain. Rapid final blows against weakened targets will grant us Devour. This is going to be the way that we're going to sneak Devour into the build, since that is the main thing we do. We weaken things, and then we kill more things that are weakened. So proccing Devour this way, it is super easy with this build. The easiest way to trigger it is definitely with a finisher. You like finish an enemy, and everything that you weaken, use Lightning Surge, pretty much guarantees that you'll get Devour procced. And then Devour is going to help us stay alive, as well as give us our grenade back a little faster. Armor of Awareness is also really good. This is mostly like your oh shit I'm dying type of perk. Since we're going to have Frost Armor a lot of the time, if our shields get broken and we go into critical health, then this will trigger freezing everything around us. So if you get caught up in a bad place, this may actually save your life. Now while I can't really unlock the last 2 perks I want to run this build, I can definitely tell you exactly what they are. They would be Conductive Cosmic Crystal and also Brain Freeze. Brain Freeze would be great because the turret is just constantly going to be freezing and slowing targets. So it just kind of improves the efficiency of the turret. It kind of gives the turret AoE. As long as it can freeze one target, it's going to start slowing the targets around it. And then Conductive Cosmic Crystal, it is a really good one. Again, it takes advantage of the turret and it applying stasis debuffs, because anything that it's affected by a stasis debuff will take more damage from our arc abilities, meaning that our lightning surge is gonna be even more deadly. We're so close, we just need a little bit more XP, but hopefully you guys already have those mods unlocked so you guys can really take advantage of this full build. But anyways, with that, we're gonna end today's video. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys like the build. If you guys want to try it out, there will be a dim link in the comments below. I'll pin it at the top like always, so you guys can just easily find it. If you guys do end up using it, make sure you guys come back here and just tell me what you guys thought of the build. Do you think it's good? Do you think it's bad? Do you have any improvements to it? Just let me know all that in the comments below. Thank you all for watching today. The last thing that I will tell you about this build is that it definitely performs the best when there's a lot of ads. When there's a high ad density and just things just constantly trying to kill you, that's when this build really is at its perfect place. So it's unknown from the future here right before the video ends to tell you that you can pair this up with any grenade launcher you want on the special slot. It doesn't really have to be a specific one or anything. I know I didn't really mention it throughout the video, but you can just pair it up with any grenade launcher and it'll be fine. But anyways, thank you all for stopping by today and hanging out with me, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care everyone, have a good rest of your day. Peace.